Is there any job which is fairly paid? Some of the high-danger jobs in oil etc. are very well compensated in exchange for the risk-to-life fare is relative though. I think that jobs like skilled trades electricians, plumbers often have good pay without the extreme highs or lows of fame. They are in demand, respected, and generally offer a fair wage. Civil engineer. Stained glass repair on medieval churches in North Scotland, 186 HR plus travel fees. I am a cybersecurity architect and I feel like I'm compensated fairly for my experience in the field. I'm about 15 years into my career and currently making 225k. Some days I feel like it's too much when I'm sitting on conference calls playing Baldur's Gate 3 on my other monitor. Some days when I get worked up in the middle of the night for an emergency, it feels like not enough, but thankfully those days are rare in my current position. I do say that government employment generally tends to be a more fair work environment, at least at the federal level. There's basically an assumption that you either work no more than 40 hours, or you get time and a half for OT. And constitutionally, you actually get guarantees to due process and appeals if you're terminated or disciplined. The fairness and transparency in turn leads to wages being more where they should be. Free market employment is wild and you're basically a slave with no rights if you're W-2. I have an excellent doctor and very good insurance, fortunately. Based on the insurance breakdowns he seems underpaid. Accountant. It can probably vary depending on type of accountant, location, etc., but I feel I'm fairly compensated for my work. Most athletes need a day job or will need one when they can't compete anymore when they are about 35-40. Only the top athletes in popular sports get paid big. Same with actors. That guy with 5 credits to his name, the biggest one being guy on corner, isn't raking them in. Can someone pay me too much? Tism. It varies a lot for us lawyers. I'm at a non-profit and in a union, which balances out to what feels like a pretty fair wage. I'm not living a flashy lifestyle, but my bills are paid and I get to have hobbies. I heard the tech field pays decently. Union jobs. That's the whole point. My work produces aircraft obstruction lights, blinky lights on cell broadcast towers. It's incomprehensible to me that people climb 700 FT cell towers or 2,200 FT broadcast towers to install and work on the lights and other equipment. We train tower climbers on our equipment, and some of them told me a story where they were on a 2,200 footer with a new guy. A storm came up fast on them and they had to at least get down to the elevator cage, if not off the tower. The new guy under the strong sudden gusts froze up though. He wouldn't budge. They ended up using some 2-inch tape and just taped him to the tower and left him the stuff of nightmares for me. I told my boss when they hired me, engineer, if you ask me to climb, I quit. I've always thought tech jobs have a good balance citizen pay without all the celebrity nonsense. My job doesn't pay much, but I feel like the pay is fair for the amount of work I do. I'm an audiologist and I feel pretty fairly compensated. Granted, I was lucky enough to graduate debt-free, so some of my peers may disagree, but I have no qualms personally. Middle management in a lot of places seems like a fair compromise between pay and work. I was surprised to find minor league athletes often make around 50k a year, which seems fair. Without a framework for fair, this question means nothing. Is fair an ethical matter and ethical unto the individual or the group? And which group? Where do you draw your borders? Or an practical one? Or an aesthetic one? Being a loan closer is a good side hustle. It's been 15 years since I stopped doing it, but I was averaging 75.p an hour and it's got to be at least an average of 125 an hour by now. I made 150 in 40 minutes by taking a closing in my city that came from a title company outside of my state. No college or schooling necessary. You just have to be a notary public, have a vehicle, a camera, a printer and/or fax machine, and familiarize yourself with mortgage loan paperwork. Then you can advertise yourself as a mobile loan closer. You just have to know what to say, where to sign, where to stamp, where to have the client sign, etc. There are websites you can sign up for to advertise your services, and you can also go to title companies yourself and introduce yourself and offer your services as an outside closer. You can pick and choose which jobs you want to take and only work evenings, weekends if you want. The busiest time is usually the end of the month. Anyhow, just an idea for anyone looking for an easy way to make decent money.